Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is C, Certified Brewhead.
And I am Tiffany, Liquid Enthusiast.
And welcome to episode 15 of Beer and Other Shit Podcast Link Up Series. We are now just past the halfway mark of Series 3. Remember the first three?
Vibes. You know the vibes. Okay, we started off... No, Fine Balance was second.
Fine Balance was second.
Okay,
first one.
We started off with...
You actually can't see
There's
it.
so many of them. Okay, hold on.
There it is.
So Fine Balance was second. What was the first
beer?
beer?
The red beer. Quebec City.
Oh, BG.
There you go.
So we started off with BG, then we did Fine Balance, then third up were the people we met last week.
Yes.
So, we're just doing so many things. I'm like, who were we sitting down with last week? Oh my gosh, Bellwoods. Yeah. Oh, that was great. Bellwoods chat was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And then today we're sitting down with the family.
Yes.
He is making his 78th appearance on the pod, like, honestly.
Yeah, he was one of the first breweries,
He was one of the first recurring guests.
No, I think
he is one of the breweries that launched our video, the whole reason we were doing video.
Yeah.
On my shaky...
Blair Witch
style video, 50-minute podcast recorded video from back in the day. It was beautiful. So we have come a long time as friends.
We have
a gorgeous thing.
So we're super stoked to have these guys involved in this, and we're going to get into why it was so important. Is we're at the top of our list when we made the list when we started.
Scarborough represents
exactly all day. But to get these guys involved is I think is really important. So please welcome Shehan De Silva of Lustcraft Brewing.
Hey, you know the vibes.
Hey, it was good, son.
Oh, hello.
Man's good.
How's it going?
Oh, great.
Yeah,
nice to be on with you. So I don't think I was on. Oh, I've never been on with you.
No, was Shehan before?
Oh yeah, that's true. Nice to be on with you. Finally, it's about time. It's like
It's a
celebration.
It's a celebrate. Yeah.
Goddamn right it is. First of all, thank you for hanging out, bro. This is always fun to hang out, but it's extra cool to have you as well involved in Link Up. I told you about this last year when we were starting it out, and definitely wanted to get involved. So I'm glad that we did this round. This has been a pretty serious series. So I want to talk about. We're going to get right into the beer as well, and this is the first bottle that we've ever had on Link Up, which is super cool. Look at this super sick label. Look at that. I love what you guys did with this, bro. We're going to pop this open, but do you want to tell us about the beer itself?
Yeah, so this is our dry hop sour brewed by our amazing head brewer, Catherine St. John. Slightly tart, light body, crisp finish, like juicy tropical hop notes with stone fruit, and ripe honeydewed melon, produced in collaboration obviously with you guys, and we were super stoked to do it. As you can see, I'm loving we've kind of flipped from a bit of the minimalistic, lighter designs into a more bright, colorful, vibrant kind of look. So excited for that as well. And then I just got to be unique with the stubby bottle.
I love that.
Those big bottles just are the beer's warm by the time you're done.
Yeah.
This is nice summertime drinker.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The what's the size on these bottles? Does it say? It does say 355. I love it. The bottles are something that you don't really see too much in beer these days.
Yeah, it gives me a red stripe.
Red stripe
living vibes.
Which is what Tiff said immediately, and obviously that's a perfect relevance to what this is all about. I love that you guys did a dry hop sour for it as well, which I think it's our first dry hop. We've had a fruited sour, but this is the first dry hopped, straight up and down sour, which I love. The bottles would this is a small batch, actually. That's what I want to touch on. The small batch actually produced out of your new physical brewery, which we haven't actually touched on the pod since you've had that. Is this something that you would typically do, the smaller stuff? Do you can the smaller stuff at the brewery, or do you do bottles for those type of drops?
We do both. We just actually got a new like canning line machine at the brewery actually. But yeah, we do both on site depending on what we have kind of going on.
Sick. I love that. It's super cool. I'm gonna wait till Tiff comes back to sip the beer. But let's talk about the artwork in the meantime. So, like you said, typically Lustcraft is known for really, really attractive, simple, bolder 1 to 2 different colors, on the label. So this is like this reminds me, it's got like the teal, pink, like light purple, and like a violet, and a bit of black in there too, and it's really giving me like 80s tracksuit vibes.
I love that. That's so
which
true.
I love. I'm here for that. What's the thinking behind this particular label? Was there anything, and it doesn't have to be something, but just curious, if there was anything that you guys were looking to sort of achieve with the artwork?
No, I mean, I think it's summertime, dry hop sours, so like trying to be vibrant, I think is definitely like a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's the same kind of concept, link up like that cultural mosaic diversity. I just really felt like a nice pastel, bright, multicolored kind of can really made a lot of sense, or label, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And I like that it's different. So I'm sorry, is this happening across Lost Craft on the board? There's like newer designs and colorful designs.
Yeah, like more generally, we've kind of kept it consistent for a long time.
Yeah.
In terms of like what our kind
What's
of
your signature
designs been.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this year is the first year that we're really trying to changing it up a bit. Still keeping the kind of the core consistent, but definitely making each can a little bit more unique, for sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
So now you've got a bit more of an opportunity to experiment, I guess. Now you've got the physical space. You can do the smaller, something a little more, like, what's the word? Like even less planned out. You could just I imagine you've got the capacity now to just be like, let's just do this, and you can just move on it really quickly and knock something out, which is super cool. So it allows you to sort of experiment, I guess, with the art side too, which is a cool little bonus.
Yeah, you can there now?
Yes, we're just saying.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry,
yep.
I went to go take a video
to
take photos. Awesome.
The hops in this beer, by the way, do you happen to know off the top of your head?
I was looking for that right now. I was actually messaging our brewer. I don't have it in front of me.
Mm-mm. No problem, bro. I love it. Yeah, this is great. It's super light. It's 4.8. Like everything as you described it. That kind of like honeydew melon, like green apple, like really light and refreshing. Tons of flavor still.
Mm-hmm.
Great body. Yeah, man, this is fantastic. This is a nice, fun. It's perfect for this type of weather as well. Obviously, we came with that time of year. It's money. Yeah, man, this is dope. So, first question we always start off with was why did you get involved with Link Up? I imagine there was some peer pressure from our personal relationship, but that aside, what about this made this feel like it was a good fit for Lost Craft?
I mean, it's like right in line with everything that we've been doing essentially, kind of from day one. Like, kind of the ethos of our of our company really is to try to expand the tent, get more people into craft beer, make sure that it's inclusive for everyone, whether it be just in terms of marketing and in how we market ourselves, how we present ourselves, the beer styles that we choose. It's kind of the entire ethos of what we do. So when you guys kind of when you guys were letting me know about the project, I was like, this is perfect. It makes total sense for us to get involved in whatever way we can.
I love it. We were talking earlier. Obviously, there's not many BIPOC-owned breweries, like actual owners in Ontario. If I'm not mistaken, you must have been like one of, if not the first.
Sorry, that's so insane.
It's when you started. Obviously, right now it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Well, a lot is probably exaggerating, but it's changed a bit because I can think of a few others off the top of my head.
Yeah.
That have BIPOC owners, but in 2015 when you started, I mean, I imagine you were like the owner.
Yeah, like I know that it got a little bit of criticism when, with BlogTO referencing like the only or the first, I forget exactly the phrase that was used.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly like now for sure, there's definitely, definitely a lot more. Whether the only, the first, like one of the only, certainly it was extremely uncommon when we started as a contract brewer. Now we have all kinds of partners, and we've had a team. Some of them have been with us for since close to the beginning. So the business is a lot different now than it was before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like certainly it was rare. It wasn't a common. It certainly wasn't commonplace in the industry, nor is it today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why do you think that is actually? Because your perspective, I think, is a bit different and more interesting than. It's not more interesting then, but we're mostly meeting white guys who are like, yeah, we recognize that there's a problem, but you're actually the one who is having broken through. So why do you think that there is such a small amount of people of color in the brewing industry, especially at the ownership level?
Um, I think that's a complicated question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's an easy answer. Um, I think certainly, you know, I come, my parent, I was born in Canada. My parents were immigrants when they came here. Certainly, like, you know, working in the beer industry was not, it was one of their top choices, when it comes to aspirational goals. And I would assume, not to generalize, that that's fairly common with a lot of visible minorities more generally. Also, and this, like, I think it's not necessarily just beer. I think entrepreneurship is in general is something that, even in, like, I'm, from the Sri Lankan community. Like, I know, like, it's not a common, it's not all that common, that people go out and start their own businesses in any industry, not just
Mm-hmm.
beer. I think in beer specifically, I think that, again, for a long time, if you look at how it could be, it's more broad than just craft beer. I think it's just beer in general. Like, I think that there was just perhaps an unconscious bias that didn't target or involve or include a lot of different people. So I think that effect overall probably led, in part to I guess how there is, certainly a lack of diversity within beverage alcohol, period, not just, necessarily beer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Honestly, dude, that's the first time I've heard anyone say that. I think that is absolutely a factor.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always about really trying to get to the bottom. In order to solve this problem, you want to find out what's causing it in the first place.
Yeah.
And what you just identified is, like, I don't know, that resonates a lot.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think the entrepreneurship part of it is very key, especially like also first gen Canadian too. And it's like mainly the parents were like, "Listen, go be a doctor or a lawyer because we came here and we struggled, and you're gonna go out and do something and make money for the fact, like make money and do something worthwhile." So that's 100% correct. I only think actually in the last few years, at least I can say from the Black community side, a lot of entrepreneurs, Black women are in the U.S. at least, are the largest body starting businesses, and also just the fastest growing. But that's because also during the post George Floyd BLM era, a lot of businesses kind of like catapulted and came into light, so things started moving faster because everyone started wanting to support them. But I think that's super interesting that it's starting from like a level of just like first gen, so maybe that'll change with, like, say, your kids, and
I was
how
just
it goes
thinking
from
that,
that. So
yeah.
that's probably something that will change. And then of course the marketing, that's something that we know 100%. Like, it wasn't marketed to people like us, so it just wasn't on our radar. But I also think that's why Link Up also existed, was that we know that more owners trickles down to more drinkers in the end, so it diversifies the industry from the inside. We're basically trying to infiltrate from the inside. Even as an owner and as you're navigating the scene, do you think that your color at all impacts like how you move within the craft beer industry? Have you faced any microaggressions, or is it something that people are not even paying attention to? Like, how is that? Because you're playing in a very white field.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm certainly not like in that. I'm not in that like constant rage category when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like, I don't think that. I don't think that that. I think that there are certainly, and we've talked about them on this podcast. Like, certainly, when I started, for sure, there was a lot of, and I don't want to call this racism though. I think it's just bias in general. A lot of people saying that why are you in beer? You don't brew the beer, et cetera, or just having that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now I think our business and our company and kind of how we've consistently operated, from the beginning. I don't think that that's a like I don't think that people are not doing business with us because of that. Because I'm a person of color. I think that certainly, in the past, I think that there's been small experiences here or there,
Mm-hmm.
but I think for the most part, I think that my lived experience just helps me navigate, or helps our business and helps our partners navigate like a new reality. It's not like the market and the people, the people of Toronto, the people of Ontario, the people of Canada are not, it's a diverse group, and being
Mm-hmm.
able to relate and attract a bigger pool of people, whether that's be staff, or kind of however you market your products. I think that's an advantage to us. So I don't look at it at
Mm-hmm.
all as a disadvantage. And if anything, like anyone, when you get naysayers, you get that chip on your shoulder, and you just want to work harder than the next person. I think that mentality was instilled in me from my parents, in terms of that work hard mentality, and that's kind of all you can do. Is you can't control everybody, but you can kind of keep your message consistent, and just try to prove people wrong.
That's bars right there, bro. I love that. Like that's beautiful. I wanted to. So the last question, and this is like a massive thing. So you don't really even. I don't expect you to have the answer, but the generational, the immigrants coming through and wanting, their children, the first gens, to do certain things. Do you have any ideas off the top of your head on how we being that there's we had a meeting with the CCBA yesterday, and they were calling people that do what LinkUp does, like change agents. So people who are proactively trying to improve things like DEI in the craft beer space in order to grow the industry and grow the just make it more reflective of the outside world as opposed to this microcosm. Is there a way that breweries and change agents or whoever else could assist in encouraging people who may have been brought up with that bias against entrepreneurialism or beer or whatever it may be, or is that like sort of it just needs to grow out with the first gen kids like you two, that need to sort of be the ones who break the mold, and then you are now the role models for the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly I think it's within any industry, it's important that that leaders and people within that culture are promoting those ideals. I think the challenge that I see is just, and this is like a more broad social kind of issue in general. It's like creating safe spaces for dialogue, right? I think that as you guys know, you guys are infinitely more savvy at social than I am. There's certainly like scare. People are scared sometimes to say what they think, without getting like chastised for whatever reason. And it works on both sides. Like, it can work on like why other people don't want to, like, why people of color like myself or anyone else could want to get into the industry, and having an open kind of discussion about it. I think that the broader question I think is, do if you want to talk beer specifically, I think the broader question is like, are more and more people wanting to get into the beer industry? From what I see, the answer to that is no. Just more broadly, it's not about necessarily, people of color necessarily, or other minorities. I think that certainly there's just a broader industry, trend. I'm sure the seltzer craze, whatever else it is, that's really picked up. I think so. But regardless, I think within that spectrum, I still think that there's certainly an opportunity, and there's certainly still a massive opportunity, and that's probably what I'm the most focused on. Is I still believe that there just still isn't the adoption. Like what I thought, my biggest disappointment kind of when I started in 2015 to today is how the industry hasn't grown. Like it really it's just flatlined from what it was before. And I get the whole macro trend about beer as an entire category is slowing down, more health conscious decisions, et cetera. But that's still the question really has to be, why is craft beer still such a small chunk of the overall beer market? How come it hasn't continued to get share, against the macro companies? And I think that there has to be, self-reflection amongst all breweries, not, necessarily breweries like BIPOC breweries or whatever you want to call it.
Hey, Rocky.
Hey.
Hey, bud.
He's like, we potted? Are we potted?
He can chill. He's out here. Ain't nobody get upset at the dog.
No, and never.
Yeah,
it'd be nice if he could sit beside you.
No, please don't apologize. If he wants to if he has anything to say,
I was like, you should get a little chair. I was like, can you hang out and sit beside or something?
I know. Okay, bud, go inside. 1 second.
It's gonna be us soon.
I know. I can't wait. I
Wait.
cannot wait to get a damn
dog is
dog.
gonna be all up in the podcast.
Exactly. Sitting right here.
The whole time.
But
sorry about that.
No, what you're saying was really good.
Yeah.
I finished.
You were talking about
lost my train of thought.
You were saying that the craft beer industry is not growing and it's not taking a larger part of the macro than expected.
Yeah. So what? Yeah, I guess. So again, I guess my my overall question or my overall challenge to the entire industry is like, why is that the case? Why is that the broader industry is not getting more and more people away from traditional, non-localized products? What is inhibiting that growth from continuing? And I think it's that insular approach, the beer snob mentality. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why I think you can kind of guesstimate. Obviously, there's no real science behind it, but I think that's the question that I think we all need to solve, and that'll just benefit everyone. It's not just about us; it's about the entire industry thriving and developing, and really helping our industry grow in a way that is more sustainable.
I think on what you're saying there, one facet of that I think would be glaringly obvious, and it would be interesting if there could be some form of, maybe we could try to fund something like this, like some form of survey. But I think something that's glaringly obvious is that the craft beer industry has continuously marketed to the same type of person for an extended period of time. I think it would be more shocking if it grew doing the same thing that it's always done. Like, the only thing that makes sense is for it to stay the same, because they haven't really brought in there's a full chunk of the market. If you want to think about like the black US market on its own. All right. Also, your ringtone's hilarious.
That's a gangster ringtone, bro.
Don't know what would that
if you think about, like, say, the black, I don't know have all the numbers. I just know generally we're exposed to the U.S. numbers, so I know that the black individuals in the U.S. have an $8 trillion buying power. So that is already and then they are ignored. but who welcomes them and who thinks about them? Appleton, whatever. Like, even when you think about the other beverages, they're all in it. And then you think about the craft, if you think about the beer industry in general, the Coronas and all these people are all marketing to them. So it's not really surprising that if we have kind of, and of course there's always going to be one new white person or white guy with a beard that gets into craft beer, but if you're talking about the larger demo, you're missing a full demographic of people who could be introduced to craft beer because the community is so insular and because it's just you're marketing to the same people. You drop the beer, you put it out on Instagram, the same people buy it. I think they even stopped lining up for it, so that's like a whole other thing. Do you know what I mean? It's the same cycle. It's that's the reason you're missing out. Like, if we were only promoting to the same people every single time, our business wouldn't have grown or anything like that. It just makes sense. So that's what's missing, is that large. And I think you have found a lot of success because all my friends who were like black girls wanted to drink Lost Craft because you were marketing to them, and you felt there was the way that you presented yourself and the way that your imagery was and the way that your language was very inclusive and made those people interested. But there's only, say, you and maybe a few other people. There's not 1,000 of you. You know, only 1% of the entire brewing industry is actually a person of color in the United States again. So, like, and then obviously far less here. So there's no reason for it to technically grow if it's marketing to the same people. Like, it's just like won't grow. This is the reason why, like, again, why LinkUp is existing, to try to address that issue, but there needs to be a lot more on the brewery side as well. And I think that does involve self-reflection, but also involves actionable steps. So, like, what do we do? Like, does everyone need a marketer that needs to come in and teach you, like, how to actually market to different demographics? Is that just opening up your hiring practices to make sure that you have more people? But obviously actionable steps need to happen. Like, it won't grow. I can't imagine why this industry would grow looking at the same people unless they try to target somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not advocating, like, Toronto slang consultants, to drop.
It might help.
It actually might help. Jokingly, it actually might help. No, I mean, look, I think at the end of the day, I think that I think it's a multi-pronged approach. Mm-hmm. I think in general, but certainly there has to be. I mean, on the marketing side, there's an element of attracting, a more broad audience. And I think on the product side, it's the same thing as you mentioned. It's like you're probably not going to get take craft beer from 10 to 15 or whatever the number is by just launching 14 IPAs every other week. Mm-hmm. So there's a mix of that, right? It's like provide, attractive products to, make products that are accessible to, to more people. And then also ensure that message is coming across, like, I think for at least, again, I'm not sure, I can't speak to everyone, but I know, like, for example, like, you're one of the only craft beer companies that I'm aware of that's ever been involved in Carabana in terms of, like, floats and, like, other things like that they're not, and it's not that we do that because and this is kind of my stress, it's like those decisions are not made because they're diverse or with an intention of just attracting that, like, a certain demographic. It's done because it's reflective of our community. It's reflective of our culture. It's reflective of who we are as a business, and it's just reflective of who, like, our ethos. So those kinds of things all together can really be powerful in terms of bringing more people out, and that's really the name of the game.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I want to touch on something that Tiff mentioned earlier. So when you guys came out in 2015, we connected very quickly, and people associated BAOS with Lost Craft very early on, and what we had was all of our friends who weren't craft beer drinkers sending us photos, like Tiff said, her friends, black girls, a girl from Middle Eastern and European.
My Jamaican dad. It's like, hey, I bought that beer. Bought your friend's beer. Do you know what I mean? But it's he only drinks Heineken. Like, his whole thing is Heineken and Guinness. That has been the two tracks for his entire life. But it's like, there's something about it that felt, and you can continue on, just felt like very inclusive, something you wanted to be a part of, but it felt like it was speaking to you in a different way, which
Yeah.
I think was key.
So all it is what did you do? And this is more of a like, I think these podcasts are very valuable for other breweries to watch and listen to see what other breweries are having challenges at, but also taking dubs at.
Yeah.
For you, could you put it into words what you did back then and that have continued to do? Whether it was the marketing, whether it was the spaces that you decided to sponsor or hold events, which is something that Crowns and Hops in LA, our other good friends are doing. Black-owned brewery, they're doing. That's how they got their start as well, by holding events in cultural spaces that, like barbershops, sneaker stores, all those type of things that were targeting a demographic that would typically be ignored. So, could you pinpoint some of the things that worked for Lost Craft that you guys did that allowed you to capture markets similar to Tiffany's dad and her friends that she grew up with and such?
That's a great question. I mean, I just wouldn't put it on one specific thing. I think, it's not to really to attract new people that never would drink craft beer is extremely challenging. If that was an easy answer, there'd be a lot of bajillionaires out there, so it's really not. And I think it's like I said, it's multi-pronged. It has to there's a lot of factors that go into, I think, it is very challenging to convince a lifelong Heineken drinker to switch. It is, that's the reality. So, I wish it was easy. I wish it was like, oh, just sponsor this and everyone will buy your stuff. Like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
But I think that certainly we could always be, we ourselves need to be doing a better job at it. And I think a lot of people could do a better job at outreach and bringing, more people, into the fold.
Yeah, I think what you said though, like say for example, Caravana, it is something to be said, and this kind of goes to, you were saying it's not because we were like intentionally being like, oh, we need to be diverse and go do these diverse things. It's literally because you're interested. And that would be the benefit then of having owners and having people who work at a brewery or work within a company in general who are diverse, because they're going to bring up those opportunities, which in the end, it's like, if you weren't the owner, but you did have your people manager, your HR person, and she was like, yo, we should do Caravana, it's lit, like it's a great party, there's tons of people there, we should do it, that would benefit. So it's like being diverse, having diversity in the workforce brings up, just like it can affect the beer and make the beer more interesting because people might bring their culture into the beer, it also impacts where you might show up and your cultural relevance in general. Because yeah, a Caravana, you just would have always known it. So it's kind of natural to you, but it's not natural to everybody else. So I feel like that's another argument for why it's beneficial to have diverse ownership, but also diversity in the workforce. Because then again, if I owned a brewery, just so even people suggesting it, it's just in the end, if you are with a bunch of people and everybody looks the same and is the same, it's very rare that they're going to start bringing up, even as thing as like maybe they wouldn't even bring up the Greek festival. It's like if you just had culture in there, then people start bringing different ideas to you. And if it makes sense, you jump in, I feel like mostly people think about like the main ones that get marketed, like they probably think about Pride, something like Pride, Women's History Month, like some key things, but they might not be thinking about all of the small, really more high-touch cultural moments that could be happening too. Which again would come from
certainly
stuff.
No, and certainly, like, and it's an ongoing thing. When we talk to, our like on the marketing side, and we're going through things, like there are so many like days, festivals, national. It's not even diverse. Like National Margarita Day. Like how many days can there be? Like
there's literally like 4 days a day.
Yeah. To stay exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So sometimes it certainly, and this is what I mean. I'm certainly of the opinion that, for certain things, certainly like you have to be as a company, you have to stand for certain things. And I think sometimes it's very important to, post about something or whatnot for sure. I think that when people don't post about certain things, I don't think that should be taken as inferring that they don't care. I think a lot of the times people don't know. But because this is like something that I've seen kind of on various social issues too. Is like it's not at all that I think and this is where I think people get scared about inclusivity and trying to. It becomes this like constant apologizing type nervous situation where just people don't know. And I think that's why you just have to I think education and kind of coming at it from a constructive place instead of a blame place, to me is the most important thing. I mean, because that's going to get people on your side, and that's going to, frankly, going back to my wife, my partner has told me a lot about patience with children now and stuff like that, and certainly a lot of the time, you have to. I think one thing that's quite telling that she said is that you have to kind of think about what's your objective, right? Like, what is the objective behind what you're doing, and does that end up getting you what you want? So if your objective is, let's get more breweries more aware of these issues and really trying to bring more employees into those businesses and more people into those businesses, the question is like, what should you do to get those breweries to do that thing? In my opinion, it's like you need to educate in a positive and constructive way, and not a way that makes people scared, because then they're just going to go into their bubble, right?
Yeah.
Then they're going to pull back further, not want to engage, and when they do engage, it's going to be really on the defensive and not really in a way that's making them really want to move that ball forward in any way. But again, it's to everyone's benefit to do that. I don't think it's just in the brewer's benefit to do that. It's if you get more customers and you get more qualified people wanting to work at your business, that benefits you. But there's a method to getting there. I think that's the key question in terms of like how we make that safe environment that people are comfortable in asking those questions and making changes in the right direction.
So I guess every brewery what I'm getting from all this is not really like a clear-cut answer, and sort of every brewery has to maybe do some soul searching, and like you said, what's your objective? What do you want? Do you want to attract a more diverse crowd of drinkers? Do you want to attract a more diverse workforce? Which I would imagine, our theory here is that it feeds itself. If you change the workforce first, it'll bring in new drinkers, or if you bring in new drinkers, people will learn about more beer, and then the industry, and they might want to get involved. So it's kind of this circular thing. It's the number one challenge I think that people always bring to us, and just be like, where do I start? What do I do? Obviously, the answers that you've given here, to reiterate, I guess, you grew up in it, so it's kind of second nature to you. I think part of it was your marketing that we've talked about before, as far as the, at the time you came for breweries who don't really have the context, at the time you came out, you were one of the only breweries with this sleek white and gold can that just looked sexy as fuck. And every other can, for the most part, were very colorful and cartoony, and tractors and lumberjacks and all this stuff. So you came out with this attractive can that looked great in the hands of guys and girls at a club, in a place where maybe they would have a Heineken or something like that, but it looked great. And that's when people would go to house parties and they would send us photos like, everyone here is drinking Lost Craft. And I think there was something in that as well. So it's almost like thinking of the way you present your brand. Is your brand, if you have cartoons on your beer labels, are they all like white men or something? Like, as you can imagine, someone of any other culture aside from being white men probably wouldn't be super interested in what you're doing. So like, well, this isn't for me. There's a white dude on the can. That's not who I am. And things like that. Tiff and I always talk about social media, like something you guys had as well a lot from the beginning was a diverse social feed. Having different people from different cultures, involved in the photos as well. Small things like the models and stuff. I think there's a lot of things. I guess
It is multi-pronged. It's like inclusive marketing. It's hiring diverse teams, and again, it's going to be more in your nature. It's just what it is to hire diverse people. That's just how it happens a lot of the time. But like inclusive marketing, hiring a diverse workforce. It's inclusive marketing online and offline. because like the events is the offline thing and the online is like the social side of things, you could say. But like, yeah, I think what you mentioned about breweries being afraid to kind of talk is very interesting too, or to try to open up because they're afraid that they could say the wrong thing because it's so easy to get canceled. You get canceled for like anything in 3 seconds. It's so insane. Or you don't post about a certain cause and all of a sudden it means that you're like a bigot because you didn't do it. Can you get it? Just
Yeah. Sorry.
So I think you bring up a good point in that, and that's why we need to make sure that, and that's not our approach. Our approach is not to be like, you're not doing this. It's just kind of like, how can you do this? You know, like how can you do it here in the ways?
Yeah.
Oh, and I know you're not saying that to us directly, but I can see the anxiety. There is a lot of anxiety, and it is uncomfortable for people. So it's like we have to extend grace to everybody, and our job is we're learning as well, you know? So our job is to educate and then pass on the knowledge that we have to hopefully empower people on both sides. Empower people to want to work at breweries and feel confident that you don't have to be a brewer, you don't need to have technical knowledge to work at breweries because these are companies. There's other roles that you can have. And then also empower brewers to like attract diverse candidates. So I think what you said is super, super interesting. We're at 40 minutes now.
Sorry, 1 sec. I'm just going to...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I just want to grab a charger. 1 second.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
I think we should find out about his other initiatives.
Other initiatives, yes.
The beer is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Definitely swing by the brewery, guys. It's in the Junction area of Toronto, the High Park and Lost Craft Brewery. It's definitely a really cool space. I was going to actually ask about the space itself and if you've seen any diversity coming in from that.
Awesome.
Something I was curious, so maybe we'll wrap up on those 2 questions. But yeah, this is available directly there. I'm not sure if it's getting any distro. I'm not sure if Lost Craft hits up the like the independent stores and such. Yeah, but this is cool. It's like such an attractive bottle, but also and label, but also just like it's so different to drink out. That's the thing that people commented on the most was the bottle. People love the idea of the bottle. Yeah. Couple final questions, bro. Unless you had any thoughts on what Tiff just said, you wanted to riff off that.
I think I was just reiterating.
Yeah.
No, totally.
More reiterating what you said because I think it's interesting.
Okay.
And I just wanted that to sit with the listeners too.
Yes, definitely. What was your question? Do you want to do yours first?
Mine was just kind of to understand what else do you have going on. Is there anything else that you're proud of that you want to highlight that kind of follows through on this initiative or with your ethos as well? Because I know you've done things in the past. There's like diversity. You did like was it a grant or some type of donation to help the Scarborough region? So I just would love to, just kind of hear anything else that you have going on that you're proud of or that you've done in the past that you're proud of.
Yeah, I mean the Love Scarborough campaign actually came, like I think that you're referencing was definitely something that I was super proud of. Very close to my heart because I was born and raised in Scarborough. So it was certainly if you guys don't know the concept behind it, Scarborough represents 25% of Toronto's population, but gets 1% of hospital donations. So it's a big disparity, and obviously it affects quality of healthcare in the area. And given what's been going on for the last, the last couple of years, it's really exacerbated that issue. So when I heard about it, we instantly jumped on, got in touch with the organization, and we really partnered to get do a limited edition like Love Scarborough can for diversity, where a portion of the proceeds are being donated to the Scarborough Health Network, and interestingly enough, and the funny thing is, obviously, certainly now, our physical brewery is no longer it's not in Scarborough, which is but again, I believe our company really represents Toronto as a whole and by virtue Canada. So hold on 1 second, Rocky. No.
Gotta get used to that. Baritone.
I know.
Sorry. So anyway, but I guess it actually is probably hitting on a lot of what Tiff had mentioned. interestingly enough, and if you talk to people in, the craft beer industry, they'll certainly echo, like, usually, sales reps don't spend a lot of time in Scarborough. Scarborough's like just known as an area that doesn't sell craft beer. It sells beer, just not craft beer. So, when we came out with that initiative, the LCBO and the district managers in Scarborough were, I will say, like, amazing. Their response was super quick. As soon as they heard about it, they really supported us. So we had 15 kind of core stores in the Scarborough area that had like special displays, banners, stuff like that really promoted it. And the proof is in the pudding in terms of, those stores really supported the beer, and the community supported the beer. And again, that's an area that, in the past those stores were not typically, big craft beer stores, but certainly now they know about craft beer. Whether they know Lost Craft or not, they know about other options that they can go to their LCBO to take a look at. And I'm certain with diversity, because it's like an easy drinking beer, most people that may have a stigma around craft beer, are probably going to say, oh, this actually isn't that bad. It's not that hoppy. I can probably try this. Maybe I should try something else, et cetera, et cetera. So, again, so that kind of initiative really, to me, hits like a lot of those things. And it's not really a targeting diverse. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When it's not a simple thing. You have to really channel the right organization and the right, in the right framework, I'll say, to get that desired result. And again, it doesn't always work. Like, it doesn't always. Sometimes it's going to work. Sometimes it's not going to. But from my perspective, you always got to try and keep building and keep doing the right thing as, from your perspective as a business. And, whether it's, with Scarborough stuff or LGBT stuff, we did with this organization called Transforming Style just recently, around Pride. There's a lot of different, I think, ways that you can really connect with your, community in a, in a positive way. You just gotta, it's just got to be part of your, DNA, I think, to really get that desired result, which is new people into your beer or into anything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. That I was going to kind of like,
and then
yeah, go on, please.
No, and I think I overheard you saying, like, in terms of, because obviously when we merged with High Park Brewery and really put our stamp on that space and kind of changed it up. Not that it was definitely, like, it hadn't really opened, so it kind of was opening during COVID and then got closed, et cetera, et cetera. But because it's hard when you're a virtual, it's very hard when you're a virtual company or contractor, like a Lost Craft, to really know your customer. Like, KYC is like a main, very important thing, and it's hard to you can pay for that data. It's going to cost you a lot if you go through XYZ channel, but certainly one huge benefit that I'm like all about, I mean, all data driven kind of stuff, is like knowing your customer, like having that direct sales insight and seeing who buys your beer, who comes to your spot, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the thing that I'm so stoked about. And I think High Park started that. But in terms of if you come to our brewery and you come to the tap room and you see the audience, I strongly, firmly believe that you're going to see an audience that's you won't see at many other breweries in Canada, Ontario, whatever wherever you want to call it. We have the age range is massive, the visible diversity is massive. It's a unique. It's parents. It's kids. The kids don't drink beer, but it really is. You have 20-year-olds. You have young families, older families. It's just a unique space. I think that we've really, I think, created something special there. We going back to like this inclusive approach. We're not. I think that a lot of the time, there's this coolness factor thing, and everyone's trying to be like super hip with it, and using the right slang at the right time, and dank and trill and this and that, whatever the hip kids are saying these days. I think for us, it's more keeping it consistent and keeping it accessible, and I think letting, like, not being that, not like creating a comfortable space where people come and constantly ask us, like, do you guys have anything other than beer? What's like a Coors Light? You know, those kind of things is, you know, we get those questions all the time. And we want to keep hearing those questions, because that means that people that haven't really been into craft beer are sitting in our space. Mm-hmm. And now is our opportunity to give them something that they like. And then hopefully they change. Right? Yeah. I mean, that's ultimately like the thing that I like seeing in terms of what we're seeing at the breweries. Like, we're really getting tons of new people in, tons of, like, you know, event stuff with weddings and different things that I think are super unique that are really, I hope, building. We never got to do that before. It's like my aspiration. We always wanted that space. I mean, that was like, you know, it wasn't bricks and mortar because, you know, a certain segment of the, you know, beer community frowned on contract brewers. Bricks and mortar was meant to really showcase your brand. What are you about? Who, you know, how do your employees interact? Like, what is the feeling? Like, does the can on the LCBO, you know, does the can on the LCBO shelf match the experience? Mm-hmm. And you can't do that until you can build that experience. And I'm super honored, that I'm super happy that we got to that place. Super happy that, you know, the team that we have is excellent. You know, I always joke, you know, we have a weird space because we have catering, so we're not really a brew pub. We're a brewery. It's just not like other places. And, you know, I tell our team all the time, like, you know, they're not servers. We don't have servers at our company. We have people that are brand ambassadors. Everyone that, you know, works, you know, in the business are there to make it a great experience, great environment that makes people want to come back and hopefully makes people want to get more interested in trying unique beers and you know, above all else, just, you know, have fun.
Love that.
I love it. That answered all the questions. That's perfect, bro.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to go.
Yeah. Next.
Now I'm closer. We'll be closer.
So we'll be able to.
So yeah, I look forward to, like, just seeing the whole vibe of it all. So yeah, you went when it was open or no?
Yeah, we went. Okay. We hung out last month. It was great with Dan and.
Okay, I'll be back. Yeah, I'll be there.
Mads will come through.
Yeah.
But dude, this is great. Honestly, bro, it's an honor to have you involved in Link Up. It's such a perfect fit. This is something that we really want to do from the beginning of it all. So thank you again for getting involved and, you know, putting out such a dope beer. The label is so sexy. The beer is killer. Yeah. Crushing it right now. Thank you again, bro. Let's get the thumbnail and then we'll wrap everything up here. Do you want to hold up the bottle? Or something? Maybe Rocky? Ready? Gorgeous. We're going to wrap up here and then stick around after. We'll wrap up off there. Where can everyone find Lost Craft online or in person?
Yeah, just lostcraft.ca. And you can find us at the LCBO, beer store, grocery stores, and at your, you know, favorite bar or restaurant.
And they can visit.
They can visit. What's the address?
And they can visit. Yeah, it's at 839 Runnymede Road.
Love it.
Awesome.
So West End of Toronto, and also it's at Lost Craft Beer everywhere on social as well. Don't forget that. Make sure you follow. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell so you know when the new drops. Follow us everywhere at BAOS Podcast and at Link Up Beer. It's linkupbeer.org. If you are by POC and you would like to apply for the program to get a Cicerone scholarship or potentially other elements, anything else we can help with, we're looking at doing a brewing school scholarship as well. So there's a bunch of different things that we're trying to do right now. Shoot us a note. Everything is on the website. And we drop the podcasts. We're going to take a bit of time off. This is coming up for July and back in August. But stay tuned. We've still got a few more episodes. Have a bit of a summer break. We are moving, so we're going to deal with that. But thank you again, bro. Appreciate you. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Cheers.
Bye.